driving Tom, don't we? Tom in Ersk, what would you like to say?
Hello, Nicky.
Hello, Tom. 20 mile per hour zones. A point well made that they have been, in some ways, very, very successful in cutting fatalities. What do you think of them?
Well, hello, my point is, like, 20 miles an hour, what is the point? Because I know you cut fatalities, but if you cut the driving to 0 miles per hour, you cut all fatalities. So it's just a linear relationship. And I have a friend in Cardiff who runs a successful company with a large van. There's some areas he needs to go to in third gear, and he reckons it'll knacker his engine over the next 2 or 3 years. And I think you're being a bit disingenuous when you say you put it back to local councils. Am I right in assuming that the £30 million you paid for this implementation, local councils have got to pay her to reverse it?
Look, there's lots of areas and cities across the United Kingdom where 20 miles per hour is what happens. So in that sense, it's not unusual. The number of collisions have come down 26% and casualties down 28%. So that's not an insignificant number. And that, of course, takes the pressure off the NHS and has actually saved lives already. And also, there's some insurance companies that have cut the premiums that people have to pay as a result. So there's lots of positives here. But what we have heard very clearly from the public is that some roads should perhaps not have been caught in this, and that's why the councils...
But the point is, why didn't you think this through before the policy came out?
Well, I tell you what happened is we gave guidance to the councils, and some councils said, OK, we're going to use the exemptions that you've set out in those in that guidance, and other councils didn't, and it's very clear that in the places where the councils didn't...
so it's their fault, not yours?
Well, in the sense that there's guidance, and some of them implemented it and some didn't. We want local people to decide. That's the point. I mean...
But wasn't there a pilot scheme incident set up, and they reported back that it was a failure?
Well, look, we learnt from the pilot, and...
well, you obviously didn't, because you implemented the policy, didn't you?
Well, what we've done now is we're listening, and you'll see that in Flintshire, there are lots of roads now that are going to be changed. That was an area where they didn't really put lots of exemptions in. Same thing in Wrexham, and then you had a place like Swansea where they put lots of exceptions in, and certainly the noise around that has been significantly quieter.
It just sounds as if you're passing the buck to local councils. When you implement the policy, so you take the buck. Don't blame other councils.
Well, look, the whole point is...
It is tricky for you, this, isn't it, with your driving ban as well? No, and it is. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's, you're on a sticky wicket, really, aren't you?
It's something that, I know people are really frustrated about, but I also know that there are lots of parents with young children who are very keen to see this implemented, and people don't like people zooming down their built-up road areas. So it is a balance, and that's why I don't think it makes sense for us to determine from Cardiff exactly what happens on every street in Wales. It makes sense for that policy to be implemented locally, which takes account of the conditions locally. So I'm not going to apologise for giving the powers to the councils to be sensitive for what's right in their area.